Hey everybody, it's me Rex the Dog. I have been enjoying the House of the Dragon Game of Thrones show. I think there's been some really cool, acting choices in it. I really like how it goes back to how Game of Thrones used to be. And, I think I just wanted to talk a little bit about it. It is one of the most, Game of Thrones that is, it's one of the most talked about TV series of all time. And I thought I'd do a top 5 positive things I really like about the show. Top 5 things I think are more misses in this iconic show. So I don't know whether you're sort of like a diehard fan or someone who's still, I guess, nursing the wounds of that finale. Stick around, we can kind of talk about them. So let's start on the positive note and go through my top 5 things about Game of Thrones. First one is production quality. I remember when this show started when I was in high school, and we were watching it like week by week together, and it was just so cool to see a fantasy show of that sort of level. As big sort of like Dungeons and Dragons and fantasy novel, kids. It was so cool to see something of in a fantasy world which was given that sort of respect and production quality behind it. The breathtaking landscapes from like a lot of the on location stuff they do, like in locations like Dubrovnik and Croatia and other places here in Spain, to the intricate set designs and the stuff they built in sound stages and the costumes. The costumes are incredible, man. Game of Thrones, it really set a new standard for a TV production, right? Because okay, sure, we've had loads of shows with really high production values, but nothing that's had such a demanding ask of it. Each episode really does feel like a mini movie with its high production value. Next thing I'm going to say, for number 4, I'm going to say the complex characters. Characters like, Tyrion Lannister, Arya Stark, Daenerys Targaryen, they captivate us with their depth, their development, and their moral ambiguity. They kept us guessing and invested in their journey, right? Especially if you hadn't read the novels or were getting into sort of like the uncharted territory. It was sort of... It was difficult to know where it was going, right? And the kind of the character interactions, we got the smaller moments, the stuff on the small council, all these sorts of things, they were just epic, man. But actually, let's go into epic battles. From the Battle of the Bastards to the Battle of Winterfell, the series delivered some of the most intense and visually stunning battle scenes I've ever seen on television. And because they felt earned as well, especially in those earlier series, it was like a climax to things that have been built up. So I thought those were like incredible and really, really exciting as well. But I guess this is number 2. It's probably my personal favorite, and then I think I'm going to put sort of like the crowd-pleasing flavor. It's number 1. The political intrigue. The intricate political plots, betrayals, power struggles, they kept all of us on the edge of our seats. The show masterfully portrayed the dangerous Game of Thrones, right? Where you win or you die. That's what it was all about, and I love that stuff. I love the conniving. I love the deals. I love the banquet halls. I love the small council. That stuff was incredible. And that became lost for more like sort of like action and plot in the later seasons. That's where it kind of lost me. But I'm gonna say for number 1, which I think is our number. It's not. I would say the political stuff's probably my number 1, but just for its kind of like its appeal and I guess what kind of the show is known for is the unpredictability, right? Game of Thrones was known for its shocking twists and willingness to kill off major characters you assumed were like, oh, this is the main dude, right? This is the main dude. This is the boy that's going to be king. This is whatever, So those shocking twists, they kept viewers constantly guessing and talking about the show. It was a great, water cooler show, if you will. That airs on Sunday night, Monday morning, whatever, depending what country you're in, and then people will be talking about it the next day. Okay, let's switch gears. Let's talk about 5, worse things or weaker things. Number 5 I'm going to put here because I always put character ahead of plot. So I'm putting this lower down here. But I'm going to say controversial plot decisions. Some storylines and character arcs left a lot of us sort of like scratching our heads. choices like the handling of Dawn or the sudden shift in certain characters' motivations were just like completely jarring, especially because like generally throughout the show it's kind of like everything was, you know, pretty well foreshadowed and growth was natural, and then when you got these moments which were like this, it was like, what the hell's going on? And it was really, really jarring. Really, really jarring. Number 4, I'm gonna say pacing issues. The pacing of the series, especially in the final seasons, felt incredibly, incredibly, incredibly rushed. That ties in with the controversial plot decisions. Maybe those would make sense if they were developed in a natural way, but storylines that needed time to develop were hastily concluded, leaving many, including me, really unsatisfied. You know, so you had things that would have typically taken like a year in the show just happen in like a week, and a lot of plot, not a lot of character. Right, character should drive plot, not the other way around. At least in my opinion, at least to my tastes. Number 3, I'm gonna say here is the treatment of female characters. While Game of Thrones had strong female characters, it all faced criticism for the way it portrayed and treated them, often relying on sexual violence for shock value, like a lot. It's when those moments where a fella relied on it. It's not because I'm like, you know, like clutching at my pearls or taking it back from it. It just felt cheap. It just felt cheap. Something people criticize is they talk about the lack of source material. You know, this is an anime that caught up with the manga, and once the show surpassed George R.R. Martin's series of books, the narrative quality noticeably declined. Now, I don't know whether that's because of the script writing there. I personally, I think a lot of this is to do with the rush to the end. They wanted to finish this show. The showrunners wanted to finish this show, and I think I think the source materials of the last 2 years, told across 4 years, or I don't know, would have been like a lot more effective, and I don't think there would have been that many complaints about the plot and that many complaints about whatever. I think it's because it's overtaking and rushing it, right? So you can go with that argument, or you can go with the argument of the lack of source material, you know, detailed source material, leaving the writing less cohesive, more inconsistent, whatever. Let's focus on that. The worst thing is the final season. The last season received massive backlash from fans and critics alike. The rushed storylines, character arcs that fell out of place. It led to this like unsatisfying conclusion that led a bitter taste. And then others defenders, right? I'm a weirdo who liked the finale of Lost. Or even Smallville. We'll get to all this sort of stuff later. But yeah, I don't know. So there you go. There's just like my top 5, you know, good and bad of Game of Thrones. I just rocketed off here. Do you agree with it? Like, what do you think, man? Let me know in the comments below. Yeah. And, you know, expect more stuff. I'll talk about House of the Dragon, kind of, as we go deeper into that. We're 2 years into it now. I got stuff to say on that. You know this is the place for furry, for TV, for movies, for video games, for lots of things. I don't know, man. Bye-bye, everybody.